Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On July 27, 1789, the Department of Foreign Affairs, now called the Department of State, was created, becoming the first of many U.S. federal departments and agencies. How many agencies and departments does the federal government currently have? We have 15 cabinet-level departments, each led by a secretary appointed by the President and approved by the Senate. The most recently added department is the Department of Homeland Security, added in 2002. Meanwhile, we now have a staggering 438 federal agencies. Despite this enormous growth in bureaucracy, there have been some departments eliminated or consolidated, including separate departments of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and the erstwhile U.S. Post Office, now designated as the United States Postal Service, and still run by a Postmaster General, although no longer a cabinet position. On July 28, 1854, the USS Constellation was commissioned, a sloop of war, the last sail-only warship for the U.S. Navy. The second U.S. Navy ship of the name, the first was built in 1797 and was scrapped in 1853. While seeking to strengthen the U.S. Navy, economics mattered, and the Navy sought to save money by using available stocks of oak and to eschew the use of an expensive steam engine. Constellation would be economical to build and to operate. With a length of 191 feet and a beam of 43 feet, Constellation displaced 1,400 tons, carried a crew of 286, and was armed with 24 cannons. The ship served in the Mediterranean and on blockade duty during the U.S. Civil War. Undergoing a name change to Old Constellation in 1917, her name was changed back in 1926. On July 29, 2021, the International Space Station suffered an engine malfunction in its Russian Nauka module, inadvertently firing its thrusters, causing the giant man-made satellite to spin out of control. Luckily, the problem was fixed, and operations continued normally after about an hour of extreme tension on board the craft, as well as in the ground control center. Launched in 1998, the temporary loss of control has so far been the most serious problem threatening the space station. Created with the international cooperation of 5 countries, plus the European Space Agency, bringing the total number of nations involved to 16, the ISS has been assembled with 16 modules, 6 of which are run by Russians, and 10 of which are run by Americans. The modules were launched separately and joined together while in orbit, an orbit about 260 miles above the Earth. On July 30th and 31st, 2012, northern and eastern India suffered massive electrical blackouts, leaving 400 million people without electricity on July 30th, and an even more incredible 620 million people without juice, but luckily only for about a day. The previous blackout record, as measured by number of people denied use of electricity, had been 230 million people, again in India in 2001. While the scope of the outage in these cases is immense, the length of time people are denied electric power most affects them. In the summer of 2022, part of Ohio went several days without air conditioning, fans, stoves, and microwave, but more maddeningly, without television and computer use. The value of food ruined in non-working refrigerators and freezers was massive. As horrible as a summer without power can be, a blackout during a cold winter is certainly worse. On July 31st, 1715, one of those events that leads to dreams occurred when a storm off the coast of Florida sank all 11 Spanish treasure ships heading to Spain from Cuba. Carrying a load of mostly silver, the fleet has been dubbed the 1715 Plate Fleet, using the Spanish word for silver, plata. About 1,500 sailors drowned in the catastrophe, although a few survived to tell the tale. Treasure wrecks spawn mighty efforts to find and recover the lost treasure, and the occasional washing up of some of the 1715 fleet's treasure on beaches feeds this burning desire for riches. One of these treasure hunters, Ohioan Kip Wagner, managed to find some of the treasure and told of his find in National Geographic magazine in 1965, putting some of the treasure on display. Other treasure hunters have since recovered millions of dollars worth of gold and silver from the wrecks. Have you ever found any treasure? On August 1st, 1977, former USAF and CIA pilot Francis Gary Powers died when his news helicopter crashed in Encino, California. Powers became famous worldwide when his U-2 spy plane was shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960, causing a scandal and sensation during the Cold War. Other pilots have achieved high levels of fame, including Orville Wright, the first powered flight, Manfred von Richthofen, aka the Red Baron, leading World War I fighter ace, Eddie Rickenbacker, leading U.S. fighter ace of World War I, Jimmy Doolittle, aviation pioneer and leader of the Doolittle Raid, Amelia Earhart, female aviation pioneer and advocate, Charles Lindbergh, first to fly solo across the Atlantic, Eric Hartman, all-time leading fighter ace, and Chuck Yeager, fighter pilot, record-setting test pilot, and commander. Who is your choice as the most famous pilot? On August 2, 1870, the Tower subway opened for passenger traffic in London, England, as the first ever underground tube-type railway, commonly called a subway in the US and the Tube in the UK. Not to be confused with a fast food store, a subway is a rail train for carrying passengers in underground tunnels. Using coal or wood-powered steam engines, or even gasoline or diesel engines to power the train would be problematic underground. The Tower subway was propelled by a cable system with no onboard propulsive power. Most subways today are electric-powered. Many major cities and urban regions are served by subways that avoid jamming traffic on surface roads, creating an efficient mass transit system. Notable systems include the New York City subway, with 28 separate lines, and North Korea's Pyongyang Metro that is the deepest at 110 meters below ground. As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History and Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.